Welcome everyone to the 29th meeting of the Park Cities Rotary Club. And first thing I want to do is just have any new members, if you could, stand up real quick. Any new members? New members? New members? Anybody stand? Jim. Now I'd like everyone to stand up and just mingle for the next few minutes before we get the program started, just to get to know your neighbors, and we'll start here in just a few minutes. Okay, everyone, if you could take a seat, and I could have Cindy Cummings come up and we'll do the invocation. You're up. Stage is yours.
Thank you. We may be, don't we have them seated for prayer or not?
Oh, no.
Okay. May we pray? Get this back. Gracious and loving God, we thank you for our many gifts and blessings. We ask forgiveness for the misdeeds in our thoughts, our words, and our actions. We pray for those experiencing health issues and bereavement. Please help us to better serve others. We thank you for the opportunity to learn better ways to serve our community and for us to stay committed to the four-way test. Amen. And join me for the national anthem.
Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance first. Sorry about that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Cindy. And now we'd like to request for Happy Bucks. And, oh, there you go. Susan? Where is Susan? There she comes. Oh, we will. Oh, trust me, we'll be doing that in a second. Happy Bucks. Anybody have something to be happy about? If you do, Susan will come by and come get you. Mark, over here.
Yes, and before we get started on the Happy Bucks, I want to take a minute and ask Sarah Oling to stand up, please, because today all of our Happy Bucks that are donated today are going to have quadruple match because our treasurer, Mark Kasher, is going to hang on to those until next Thursday. And so Sarah is now challenging the club. She's doubling it.
So, well, not doubling everyone's. So let's clarify that. So today's Happy Bucks and then what's submitted from our club on the 29th, I'm challenging you to donate, and I will match your first $1,000 that you all donate. And a little bird told me before the meeting that a second individual will match and donate another $1,000 for the first $1,000 you match. Of course, you can all go over $1,000. Don't hold back. So, but if we can, and stop and think about it, if we can get another couple individuals to also match that first 1,000, then we've quadrupled it before it even goes to the North Texas Food Bank for their matching partners. So please remember on the 29th, that will be very important because that's not a meeting date. So please remember to make your donation directly to the North Texas Food Bank. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And if you don't understand, there is a donor somewhere out there who, if the donation is made on the 29th because of leap year, they will make that by 4. And so please, you'll be receiving emails, I promise you, this next week, just to kind of drive that point home to take advantage of that. So
You also have a flyer on your table that I created, thank you for holding it up, that has our the QR code on there as well. Again, please don't donate until
put
Thursday.
it on your calendar.
Yeah, Thursday the 29th. So thank you, Sarah. So I'm going to make the first Happy Bucks. Of $50, and $50 would normally be 150 meals for North Texas Food Bank. But because it's going to be a quadruple leap year match, it'll be double that. It'll be 300. And now with Sarah's match, my $50 is going to bring 1,200 meals to North Texas Food Bank. Who's next?
I'm very pleased to announce today that last weekend we were in Houston visiting with my 2 grandsons there, and the oldest one is 18 years old and will be going to Kansas State next year. But what I'm really proud of is that he received his Eagle Scout Award last week, and was very big excited.
Congratulations. Thank you. Who else has a happy buck station?
Mark Casher.
Got to go back to our treasurer here.
All right, I've got combined happy bucks from Tom Swift and me for lots of things. One, great to see new member Bob Helt here at the head table. If you haven't met Bob, say hi to Bob. And we're really happy to hear about Kathy Wall seeing Elvis 3 times in concert. And I'm really happy that my 16-year-old just started driving, so,
I'm confused about Kathy. Was that last year? Was the last time you saw him? Okay, I'm just curious.
Okay, thank you so much. Who's next?
Other happy
I
bucks?
think?
Pat's got one here.
Barb.
Oh, Barb.
I am just happy to be surrounded by so many servant-hearted Rotarians.
Amen.
Thanks, Barb.
Yay. Are you waving or? I've got one. She's got one.
Well, I've got a happy buck. I'm delighted to, I may have to leave the meeting a little bit early because I'm leaving this afternoon to go visit my son in College Station. So we're going to go see an Aggie baseball game. Maybe we can win one of those.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Coming up to you, Pat.
That's next.
Thank you,
There we go. Got it.
Woo. All right.
Just happy to be here and to be joined by some of our guests, the Hunter sons, Fred Hunter's sons, and anyway, and the other thing is I get to spend time with my granddaughter this Saturday.
Yes, ma'am.
Roger and I just came back from a month in Africa, specifically South Africa and Namibia and Zambia, and just had an amazing trip, but we're very happy to be back home in our own bed and to see everyone today. So,
Thank you.
Any more happy bucks?
Oh, here we go.
Yay.
This is for the meals thing. This is $100.
All right. Thank you so much. Donald Bird.
Thank you, Don.
$100.
Any others?
Who's got the math for that one? Mark, what would that
Daniel's
be?
got one.
$100.
Right behind you.
Hello.
That's like 10,000 meals, right?
It's a lot.
All right. I'm excited I get to see Mr. Orrenius twice in 2 days. You were at ACG yesterday, sat in the front row. And I'm excited she is going to talk all about how the economy is humming, life is good, birds are chirping. I'm also excited that you guys recall we had a few months ago that discussion on ChatGPT and AI, and went home from that meeting, made a nice little bet on NVIDIA, and that's working out pretty well. So, cheers.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Patty. There you go.
well, I thought since everybody's talking about where they have just been, I'll join the club. We just got back from Mexico City. Now, I will have to say, anybody that has not been to Mexico City, my husband usually will drive where we go. Not a chance there. I mean, everybody drives along, motorcycles come in between the lanes, and
20 million people easily.
No, but it was a lot of fun. We did enjoy it. Thank you.
And we're glad you got back whole and in one piece.
Any others?
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Kathleen's digging in her purse. Okay. Pot of gold right here.
Hey, I've been to Ronald McDonald House, and we made chicken enchiladas and beef enchiladas and spicy rice and beans for a great dinner right from scratch. And we got the recipes, and I'm going to send them out. And if you have a party at your house and you need to feed 75, these are a great recipe. I'm telling you, those chicken enchiladas went over great for 75. We were really proud of ourselves. You guys, everybody that was there Monday, put your hands up. Let me tell you, great people. They know how to chop. They know how to stir. The pots are like this size, you know. None of this stuff. We're getting professional.
Thank you for all that you do. Anyone else? Happy Bucks.
Any other happy bucks? How about guests now?
Yes.
Any guests to introduce? Here we go.
Right.
Oh, there you go.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have Michael Edwards, who is a design coordinator with Encore. He's joining me today. Stand up, say hi. He's a little shy.
Thank you, Michael.
Welcome. So glad you're here.
Glad you're here. Any other
Who else
guests?
has a guest?
Guest. Here we go.
This is my new friend, Farshad Marsban. He's a personal injury attorney, sorry. And we just met recently at a couple of networking events, and he was interested in coming to visit, so please say hi to him and make him feel welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Anyone
Any
else?
other guest? Mark, you're up. Marketplace advertising.
Well, I have one more.
Oh, one more.
Special announcement.
Oh, okay.
Tomorrow is a very special day for our club. It's Jeff Sheehan's birthday. So, woo! So would you all join me, please? And let's sing happy birthday to Jeff. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jeff. Happy birthday to you, and many more.
Mark, you're up.
Okay, time for a marketplace advertiser. And Susan's popular today because we're recognizing her today as our marketplace advertiser and the newest marketplace advertiser that signed up. So thank you for supporting the club, Susan. Susan has over 25 years experience in client relations and business development within the professional services industry. She's known for bringing people together and solutions together. In addition to her work as an executive, Susan brings to CMP her passion for serving in the community and local nonprofits. CMP is been headquartered in Dallas for 20 plus years. It's the nation's largest minority and woman-owned talent solutions firm, providing solutions across the full talent life cycle. Solutions include executive search, assessment solutions for hiring and development, leadership development and executive coaching, and outplacement and career transformation solutions. Their mission is to bring measurable impact to the talent space and positively influence the individuals, companies, and communities they serve. Their entire team have a client-first focus. So call Susan today with any of your talent needs and opportunities. And again, please join me in thanking Susan for supporting the Hub as a marketplace advertiser.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Susan. And now, Susan, I know she's already made the announcement about the matching, but if you wanted to come back up and say anything else before we do that, but are we good? We're good. Guys, remember that on the 29th, make that matching. We will be driving that point home. A few announcements real quick. On the 29th, again, don't forget to do it. You should be receiving some emails to notify you. I've got it on my calendar. The Crawfish Festival event's on the March 9th coming up. And then again, we have no meeting for Easter, the Easter holidays on the 29th of March. And then April 26th, the Rough Riders baseball game. So if you have an interest in doing that, please sign up. Herb.
Yeah, if I could, I got an email this week about the Crawfish Festival. It was supposed to be on March 9th. There's a bit of a shortage for crawfish, so they have changed it to April 6th. So if you're interested, please sign up.
Okay. We will note that also going forward, but thank you, Herb. Appreciate that. Now, we need to do the raffle drawing. So, Jeff? And what is the raffle up to now? $8.51, and you know the trick. If you win this, your ticket's drawn, which we're going to have our guest speaker draw a number out. You win half the pot. So, the winning number is, last 4 digits, 1039. $1039. Hold on, I gotta check my tickets. I won. Hold on, Jeff, you gotta audit this. There we go. Who wants to do this?
I'm going to hold the deck.
As the president, I'm changing the rules. It doesn't have to be ace of spades. No, ace of spades is what I need to pull out. Thank you for the gift. Thank you. It's a bookmark, exactly. And now Valerie Palin. Greg. I'm sorry. Greg, absolutely. Come on up. I can't read my. I can't. Yes. Yes.
Thank you, President Jeff. All right. Well, we're here today to honor and to give tribute to and resolution on the life and service of Robert Frederick Hunter. Born June 7, 1937, and we had this beloved Rotarian for many years until August 17th of 2023. Each and every member of the Rotary Club of Park Cities holds the deepest gratitude of the life and work of our member, Robert Frederick Hunter. Fred attended public school in Dallas, graduating from Woodrow Wilson High School. He enrolled in Texas A&M in September of 1955, where he was a proud member of the Corps of Cadets for 4 years. He was in the Texas Aggie Band, a drum major for a couple of years, Ross Volunteers, and Drum and Bugle Corps. Later, he was elected a class agent for the class of 1959. Fred earned a degree of Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering and a BA from Texas A&M. Upon graduation from A&M, he was commissioned an ensign in the U.S. Public Health Service. During his 2 years of service, he was promoted to the rank of lieutenant. Fred was married to Elizabeth Loader in July of '61, and of that marriage had 2 children, 2 sons, Alex and Bob. Fred entered the Sloan Graduate School of Management at MIT in '62 and earned the degree of Master of Science in Industrial Management in '64. After graduating from MIT, Fred was employed as a consulting engineer in Dallas with his dad's firm, Hunter Associates. In 1972, he resigned in order to attend SMU Law School, from which he graduated in 1974. Thereafter, the family moved to St. Louis, where he was the general counsel for Hydro Air Engineering, Inc., an international manufacturing firm. And in 1977, Fred was appointed the CEO of Hydro Air's operations in Europe. Fred returned to St. Louis in '81 as president of Hydro Air and served in that capacity in 1983 when he resigned and moved back to Dallas. While in Dallas, Fred married Barbara Bailey Edwards and established a law practice in Dallas, which he was principally involved with wills, trusts, probate, and corporate matters. He was committed to the senior adult ministry at the Skillman Church of Christ, where he contributed his legal expertise pro bono until he retired in 2008. In his later years, he was an active member at the Preston Road Church of Christ. Fred was a registered professional engineer, a member of the Texas and the Missouri State Bar Association, the American Society of Civil Engineers, and was a member of the Rotary Club of Park Cities for approximately 23 years, contributing significantly to the Rotary Foundation. Fred obtained his Paul Harris Fellow in August of 1989 and climbed to a 3rd level status as a multiple Paul Harris Fellow. Now therefore be it resolved that the entire membership of the Rotary Club of Park Cities in regular assembly on February 23rd does hereby express their awareness of the privilege of having been acquainted with Fred Hunter. The club extends to his entire family its sincere condolences and wishes for peace. A copy of this tribute will be placed in the permanent records of this club, with a copy duly prepared and transmitted to his family, enabling us to retain the cherished memories of those we serve and whom we love. In deepest respect and admiration for our dearly departed friend, colleague, and fellow member, we hereby affix our signatures below on behalf of all members of the Rotary Club of Park Cities, signed by Jeff Sheehan, President, and Pat Martin, Secretary of the Rotary Club of Park Cities. At this time, I'm going to introduce Alex Hunter, if you'll stand, and Bob Hunter, Fred Hunter's two sons. And Bob has been elected to come up. He's going to make some comments. Alex came in from Atlanta today to be here. Bob resides here in Dallas, and we want to give you this certificate that a copy is archived with our club, and I know you wanted to share some comments about your father.
For sure. I've only got, I don't know, an hour and a half prepared, so I hope that, what? That sound okay? No, thanks a lot, Greg. I appreciate it. And on behalf of, my name is Robert Frederick Hunter Jr. I go by Bob, and of course, you guys know my dad by Fred. And my brother, Alex Hunter, he's in from Dallas. It's just the two of us, two brothers. And on behalf of myself, my family, and Alex and his family, we just wanted to thank you guys for the proclamation and the, and just recognizing Dad as a member of this club. I know he's, there's 3 or 4 things that were really near and dear to my dad. Texas Aggies was number 1, his family was number 2, and Rotary was about number 3. And this is my first Rotary meeting ever, and given the intro of the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem, no surprise, my dad loved it here. He was a huge proponent of America, loved Texas, and again, loved the Texas A&M Aggies. And so, you know, I just wanted to, it's always humbling when I hear the bio of Dad, of our dad. You know, the guy had 4 college degrees, and, you know, it took me 6 years to get 1, for crying out loud. So, I mean, I'm still amazed of the academic prowess that my dad had. And, you know, I still miss him a ton, and events like this make it kind of difficult to kind of put that, keep that filed in the back. In fact, on my way over here, my dad is resting less than a mile away from where we're at today, and I came over a little bit early and stopped by and said hi to him and make sure that everything was okay in his space. And you know, these events are fantastic, but again, it just kind of brings back memories of how much you really miss your dad. So I guess my message to you guys today is, if your dad or mom are still living, call them today and go by and say hi to them, because you never know when that last day is going to be upon you. So again, just wanted to offer some quick comments and thank you guys so much for honoring Dad. You know, I guess everyone here knew him, and you still want to honor him? Is that okay? All right. But no, I'm just kidding. But he was admittedly slightly right of Attila the Hun, and you know, extremely conservative guy. And we miss him a ton. And I really am thankful that this group also felt the need and the requirement to give him his props. So thanks so much, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Bob, thank you very much. And Alex, thank you for coming all the way from Atlanta. And we do miss him also. And again, y'all are always welcome to come back. And now, if we could have Valerie Palin come up and introduce our guest.
Thank you, President Jeff. Our speaker today is Pia Orrenius. She is Vice President and Senior Economist at the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas. She is a labor economist working on regional economic growth and demographic change. She manages the Regional and Microeconomics Group at the Dallas Fed. She's executive editor of a quarterly publication, Southwest Economy, if any of you have read that, and she co-edited the book 10-Gallon Economy, Sizing Up the Economic Growth in Texas, and that came out in 2015. She also published a book in 2010 on immigration. Pia has also served on the Council of Economic Advisors under the Bush administration. The rest of her biography is pages of the amount of articles, her teaching, and everything else she has contributed. So I will let her now come up and speak. She's probably more interesting than reading her biography. So let's welcome Pia. Oh, one technical thing. At the end of her presentation, the Dallas Fed has asked that we take a survey. So you'll see a big QR code, which Mark will leave up, and you kind of click on it with your camera from your cell phone. Then you'll see a little yellow thing which says Survey Monkey. So please go there and take the survey. Okay, here you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. Well, thank you all so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm happy to tell you about the Texas economy. And at the end, we can certainly, I'll certainly take your questions and you can ask me anything. But the presentation is mostly about the regional economy. So we do our forecast every year, and we just released it a few weeks ago. And so I was trying to come up with the appropriate terminology. So I, didn't want to make any promises. So I said cleared for landing. It's not. I didn't say the soft part, but I'm sure you understand. All right. So obviously, I don't speak for the Fed, so I tell them it's okay. As long as they sign my paycheck, it's okay. All right, so let's start with an overview of the presentation. So right now, economic activity really and job growth are slowing. You have to kind of really look hard to see the slowing, but it's still really robust. And so if you look last year, our employment in the state was up 3.1%, which is far above our average, which is 2%. So we're still growing above trend, which we also did in 2021, 2022, and 2023. The most amazing thing about 2023 was labor force growth. It was up 3.4%, which is something that I took the database as far back as I could, and I couldn't find a higher number. So the labor force that labor force growth is not normal. And so and that's really due to migration. So domestic migration has been very resilient, and international migration is actually increasing. And that's really what's contributing to this outsized labor force growth. And that, in turn, is what's fueling the outsized job growth, because you can't grow the employment without the workers. So in 2024, then, we're seeing a return to trend growth, which is a slowing, right? If we're going to go from 3 to 2, that's a significant slowing, but that's more in line with what's sustainable and normal for our region over time. So we still see momentum in the economy, certainly, but of course now, 6 months ago, the risks to the outlook were to the downside almost exclusively, and now I would say the risks to the outlook are actually mixed. So we'll talk about some upside risk, some downside risk. And then there's also some medium to long-term factors that also really favor our region, and that's things like nearshoring and industrial policy. We're already seeing some of these things play out. And so that's going to be further boosting our output and our growth here in the next, 3 to 5 years. All right, let me see if I can move my slides. I'm not sure where the computer is. Right here. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, can you click it? Oh, thanks. There we go. Okay, great. So this is just annual job growth so that you get some perspective on where we've been. So you can see that in the blue bars is Texas job growth, and the red line is U.S. job growth. And you can see 2020, obviously, we lost 1.4 million jobs. That was almost 10% of our jobs in Texas. But then, of course, in 2021, we recovered those and more. And 2022, we're still growing at a very rapid rate. and in 2023 as well, as I just mentioned. And even in 2023, the U.S. grew quite quickly. 2% job growth for the U.S. is enormous. I mean, they typically only grow between 0.8 and 1%. So that's twice their normal growth rate for the U.S. So if you compare us to other states, you can see that last year we're about 5th at the moment. These data do get revised. But if you compare us to other large states, we're far above other large states like New York or California or Illinois, other large states. Florida usually does pretty well. And I did highlight, however, New Mexico and Louisiana, which are in the 11th Federal Reserve District. And they're remarkable because in 2023, they did really well also, because typically New Mexico has that very slow growth. And Louisiana also. And so they did very well last year. And I think if you were from New Mexico and favored recent policies, you might say, well, this is what happens when you legalize marijuana. You too can grow faster than the national average. There you go. All right, so if we look by industry, we'll see that job growth was really broad-based. Again, here Texas is in blue and the U.S. is in red. And you can see every industry grew with the exception of high-tech. So the information sector, which is high-tech services, lost jobs last year. And that's really telling, I think it's more about overhiring in the boom. So they had an incredible boom in the pandemic, right, with the work from home, and there was huge demand for all the equipment and services that came with Zoom meetings and working remotely. And so they went into exaggerated hiring, I think, and they're kind of, the downsizing we're seeing now, I don't think is so much. I think it's just getting back to normal staffing and maybe some better levels of efficiency and productivity than they had in the pandemic and after the pandemic. But other industries are growing at really fast rates if you look at last year, including the health sector, leisure and hospitality, energy, even manufacturing, which is kind of surprising given how high the interest rates have been, and we've been in this tightening cycle, and capital costs are high, and usually manufacturing is quite sensitive to that, but they've been able to also grow employment. When we look at metros, which we always do, it was a fun year last year because usually it's Austin. You do the metro chart, the job growth, and the GDP growth, it's always highest in Austin. Austin is the perennial outperformer in Texas, but not last year, and of course that has to do with the high-tech bust, right? So a lot of high-tech in Austin. So some pressure on Austin in terms of growth. So Austin and Dallas and Houston, they all did about the same last year. The outstanding metro really in Texas, and I really had to put it on the slide because I think it's a big deal, was Brownsville. When do you ever see Brownsville on like a top 10 or a top 5 chart? That's down on the border, a sleepy place. We only used to talk about Brownsville when we were talking about colonias or poverty or immigration or border patrol, but now we talk about Brownsville because they're firing rockets, and it's SpaceX, and it's the other thing that's happening in Brownsville is they're building this huge LNG plant. I think it's called Rio Grande Valley, and it's a $10 billion investment. So between SpaceX and the LNG plant, that's tens of billions of dollars in investment in Brownsville in the last 5 years, and and thousands of jobs, high-skilled jobs, the type of jobs that didn't exist in Brownsville just 10 years ago. So it's a game changer. Corpus Christi, I also included it because it's another one of those, cities on the Gulf Coast that, has always been, low wage, blue collar, never really saw much investment, and now is just also booming with so much investment also in, the lithium refinery and the petrochemical industry and hydrogen plants that they're planning on building. So there's just lots of money pouring into these Gulf Coast cities, which is really exciting for them. All right. Let's see if I can, there we go. Okay, so I wanted to show you the labor force growth because it's pretty crazy. So again, we're the blue line, and look far to the right, and you just see that 3.4 number. So again, that type of labor force growth, I mean, just that we're an aging population. We're growing more and more slowly. In fact, you know, typically population growth in the U.S. as a whole is only going to be around 0.5, 0.6%, not even 1%. And last year in Texas, 3.4% labor force growth. I mean, either the data's wrong or, you know, we really did grow. You know, even if it's off by, you know, considerable bit, it's very high labor force growth. And again, it does make sense if you look at the migration, both the domestic migration and the international migration, put it in context, and it does make sense with the rest of the numbers. I don't know if you guys read, probably not. Congressional Budget Office just put out their, is that funny? Okay. It's good reading. I mean, thank you. I got one over here. Anyway, in their report that they just released 2 weeks ago, they said that 3.3 million immigrants came into the country permanently last year. Okay? So it's, you know, I think this number is real. They believe it, their number, and they have a whole report backing up their demographic projections. And so this is, we're in an immigration surge at the moment. So I think the numbers make sense. All right. Well, how did I go backwards? That's not right. Let's keep going. Let's do some, I think, what's next? Ah, yes, construction and real estate. This is also fun because it's not what you'd expect. So again, we talked about the Fed has been in a tightening cycle, I guess, is it 2 years now? I guess it's been a while. So we've raised interest rates, you know, from 0 to over 5%. So what are you looking at right now? You're looking at construction contract values. This is the value of construction put in place in Texas. Then you're looking at a time series. And so you see these two huge spikes in 2022 and 2023 when the Fed is busy raising interest rates. So, you know, I don't know how they're doing it, but so that first increase is, that's in non-residential construction, and that is manufacturing, plants and warehouses. So that was a huge boom in 2022, despite, again, the capital costs rising significantly. And so that, we think, is related to the spending and the incentives that are in some of these industrial policies that we've implemented, like the Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS Act, the Infrastructure and Jobs Act. So that seems to be playing out and disproportionately in our region. So that's money, subsidies coming from the federal government for certain types of manufacturing construction, like semiconductors, or EV batteries, that type of thing. And what's the other huge spike there in 2023? Well, that's that LNG plant that I talked about in Brownsville. That's how big it is. Blowing the chart out of the water. So even as residential, which is that orange line, is kind of going down with the higher interest rates and mortgage rates are rising, so obviously, building came down of single-family homes and multifamily homes has come down quite a bit. But all this other construction has been booming, so, net, we haven't really seen a decline in construction in the state. It's pretty amazing. All right. I don't know why these are jumping around. Let's see, get back to where I was. So more on construction. This is single family homes, and so again, what you're seeing, 3 lines there. So you can see that home sales have gone down quite a bit. That's the blue line, and that's sort of what we're calling the lock-in effect. People who have, that's mostly existing homes. Home sales are down because people have mortgages at 3%. Are not selling. So they don't want to, sell their homes and buy a new home, with the 7% mortgage or the 8% mortgage. So home sales are down quite a bit. But the interesting thing is That building is the red line. That's new building of single-family homes. Although it's down from those record levels during the pandemic, it's still above pre-pandemic levels. Still a lot of building of new single-family homes in Texas. So how are they doing it at these high mortgage rates? And the mortgage rates are there in the green line. Well, they're doing it. They're building smaller homes, okay? And also their input costs have gone down quite a bit. If you remember during the pandemic, there were a lot of supply chain issues. Lumber costs went through the roof. You know, you couldn't get glass. Cement costs went through the roof. Well, all those have come down now, so they're able to, you know, they can build more affordably, and they're also building smaller homes. And so that's making it possible for them to still sell the homes that they're building. So, you know, builders are pretty, you know, I don't know if they're happy, but they're content with how they're doing, and they think they're able to build and sell still in Texas, despite the high mortgage rates. What's happened to house prices? Well, with the reduction in supply, so we got the lock-in effect, people with existing homes are not selling, and with the fall in demand due to the high mortgage rates, we've sort of had both demand and supply fall, and so we really haven't seen many terrible things as far as the house prices go last year. So if you look at all those, whether you know, things are down from their peak, especially in Austin. Look at how high those house prices went, well over, you know, 530, 540,000 median home price in Austin at the peak of the post-pandemic. So there in Austin, yeah, house prices are down about 100,000. But in other metros, like Dallas, for example, you know, things are barely down from their peak, and last year they actually went up a little bit. So house prices are pretty stable. I don't know if you all remember, I mean, when we started this tightening cycle and the Fed started raising rates, and there was a lot of inflation that the Fed was trying to take care of, by raising rates, people were projecting, you know, a big housing bust, like on the order of what we saw in 2006, 2007, 2008, and in the financial crisis. But we really, you know, and knock on wood, but we're really not seeing anything like that at the moment in the housing market. It looks pretty robust, actually. All right, here's a little bit different picture in multifamily. So what you're seeing here is just rent growth. So we just saw that house prices are stable, but rents are actually falling in many of our Texas metros. And also, I'm showing you there, I think also San Francisco, for example, is another place where rents are falling. And so in our case, in Texas, you might look at this and be afraid. You think it's demand. But we don't actually think this is driven by declines in demand for apartments. We think it's driven by a little bit of overbuilding in the pandemic. So we had a huge building boom in multifamily, and so now the market has to absorb that overbuilding. And I think if you drive around, you'll see the signs are out again. You probably haven't seen them in many years, but now they're out, you know, first month free rent, other incentives that apartment owners are putting out there in terms of getting tenants in. So vacancy rates are going up in apartments. They're not terrible. But, you know, this is the appropriate response. Rents should be coming down, which is actually helpful on the whole. I mean, we don't think this is not sort of a structural problem here. This is just sort of balancing out supply and demand. It'll take a couple years for the market to absorb all the multifamily that was built in the pandemic. The stories that are interesting about multifamily is that with the work from home, so many people are spending so much more time at home now than they were before the pandemic, that the cost of maintaining apartments has really gone up because people are home more, so stuff is breaking. You know, so they need more plumbing repairs and electrical repairs and more, you know, remodeling and this and that. And so when you talk to people who are in multifamily or own properties, they'll tell you, wow, costs have really gone up, which is interesting. I never thought about that, but that makes sense. When you're home, yeah, you're using stuff breaks. It does. All right, here's maybe the saddest part of the construction real estate presentation is the office market, of course. So here again, you know, with work from home, people are working from home and not in the office, so we saw a big decline in the demand for office space. And these vacancy rates here, and I'm showing you for Austin, for Dallas, for Houston, et cetera, you can just see how high they are. You know, they're closer to 20, 25%. And so we've seen a huge softening in office markets. Of course, in Dallas, we have a lot of old office buildings that have been empty for a long time. I feel like they've been empty since the 1980s. I don't know, but our last bust. But so we're kind of used to high office vacancy rates. But look at Austin. That's that orange line. And so Austin, they were down at vacancy rates around 5% before the pandemic, and now they're up closer to 20% in Austin. So that's a huge, bitter pill for them to swallow. So, obviously rents are falling there, which is going to help. But, if you've got a loan on your multifamily property, on your office property in Austin, that could be a problem. All right, let's just briefly talk about energy because we are in Texas. So what happened in 2023? Texas oil and gas production surpassed its pre-pandemic peak. So we had actually been below our pre-pandemic peak until last year, where record increases in production actually propelled us past the pre-pandemic peak. So sometimes I'll show this chart and I'll say, do you see the energy transition? But maybe that's not being nice, because people try to really look for it. And so obviously this is record fossil fuel production, so there's no energy transition in this chart. So that I'd have to bring you something on solar and wind. But the thing is, the reason I say that is because a few years ago, especially in 2020 or a little bit before, talking to oil and gas producers in Texas, they were really pessimistic about their outlook because they thought, that the energy transition was going to be very quick. And so they're very concerned about the value of their companies and investment and regulation and everything that comes with the energy transition. But then what they've realized is that, and then of course, with the things that happened, like when Russia invaded Ukraine, and, there's just the demand for oil and gas are still really out there, and especially for American oil and gas. And so, I think they feel better about the future in the sense that the transition to renewables and to the electrification of the economy is going to take a little bit longer. So I think they feel like they have breathing room for a while to keep producing. And when we have high energy production, we have high exports, because we are the largest exporting state in the nation, and over 50% of our exports are energy related. So I just wanted to show you, the U.S. is that flat red line, that's U.S. exports, and so Texas exports are the blue line. So you just see it kind of, it went up last year, despite the fact that U.S. exports were flat, and that's really our energy production, our LNG production, petrochemicals, crude oil, refined products like gasoline, all the things that we export. All right, so the outlook, this is a little bit hard to read. Before I tell you the outlook, again, just back to migration. So this is net domestic migration. So I'm just showing you net domestic migration in Texas, which is blue. And you can see how it kind of went up in 2021 and 2022, and now it's coming down a little bit. So we're seeing a little bit of a normalization of net inflows into Texas. The other line there next to Texas is Florida. So typically Florida also has a very high rates of in-migration, but like I tell everybody, the people that move to Florida, the people that are retiring, and the people that move to Texas are the people that are working. So, so the implications for the economy are quite different, depending on who's moving to your state. And then in negative territory, you see a yellow line, which I believe is New York, and a green line, which is California. So those guys, people are moving here and they're leaving states like New York and California. The only way New York and California grow in terms of their population is through international immigration. International immigrants still go to those states. Those are still gateway states for international immigrants, but domestic migrants are leaving those states. So they have a problem that they need to address if they want to grow in the future. Let me skip that. Let me go, because I want to get to your questions. When we ask companies in Texas, what are you worried about in 2024? Their concerns about recession have gone down. That's the top set of bars. But the two things that really went up last time we asked was geopolitical uncertainty and domestic policy uncertainty. Companies, people are worried about domestic policy, elections, which are coming up. You know, that's a lot of uncertainty if you're trying to plan for the future. And then, of course, geopolitical situation is also quite difficult at the time. Here's the forecast. You can see we're kind of in a glide path, cleared for landing at our trend growth rate, which is 2%. And risks of the outlook, inflation. Let's see, this is Texas CPI, and that's the Consumer Price Index, and you can see it really is too high. You can see how high inflation went in 2021 and 2022. I mean, flirting really with 10% year-on-year inflation, which is very, very rapid. And then you can see that was true in the US and true in Texas. Since then, you know, inflation has come down quite a bit, but not quite far enough for the Fed to be comfortable with its current level. So this is definitely a risk to the outlook in the sense that the Fed really can't move forward with normalizing interest rates until inflation is comfortably on its way to 2%, which is the target. Let me skip that. The other risks to the outlook is the consumers. So we're watching consumption growth. This is Texas sales tax revenue. You can see year on year, it looks like it's really slowing. So we do see some of that consumer resilience is fading. And so a lot of that pandemic stimulus money, the economic assistance money that went out in the stimulus, probably most of that is spent by now. And sort of, you know, inflation's still pretty high. Wages are growing, but, you know, are they growing faster than inflation? I don't know. We need to be looking and watching for continued resilience here on behalf of the consumer. And this is, and for example, if you look at credit card delinquency rates, they're really high right now, especially for subprime borrowers. So if we look at credit card delinquencies are higher than they were before the pandemic. So we're starting to see some stress at the bottom of the income distribution in terms of their ability to continue to consume at the levels that they were in the pandemic. All right, so I'll wrap up, and hopefully we have time for your questions.
Questions, anyone?
Let me see. I'll give my little summary if
I have a question.
Get to the summary. Hold on, Jeff. Hold on. All right.
Yeah,
so,
Lori's going to kick me out of here if I don't get
Oh, okay. So the economy had a surprisingly strong year. We'll be returning, hopefully, to trend growth in 2024. Downside risks, we talked about those, the consumer, inflation, geopolitical risk. And upside risks, again, financial conditions are easing. Migration remains unusually high. The forecast could be wrong. That's always a consideration. And we've been very wrong here in the past 3 years. And then, of course, there's the other, the timing of those additional factors that we talked about, like nearshoring, industrial policy. Thank you.
I have a question. You mentioned in the reports to the production home builders and that they're not too unhappy with what the yields are getting, but you're seeing a lot of the smaller homes are being rental homes and development. So has that factored into your numbers? Because again, that's generally a lot of times looked at as like multifamily rental properties, but they're actually single family homes that are for rent and those types of communities. Because you're seeing a lot of that in Texas.
Yeah, that's true. Well, they would be in the construction data like any other single family home, so they're not separated out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Questions, anyone? Oh, hold on. Hey.
Thank you, Pia, for coming here and giving your presentation.
You're welcome.
The Dallas Morning News and the Dallas Observer has made out a point that in Tarrant and Dallas County, between 45 and 53% of new homes purchases are made by institutional investors. Can you speak to what effect this has on prices and companies like Invitation Homes, which buy up over 85,000 homes nationally and convert them to rentals. What effect does all this private equity activity in homes have on prices, especially in North Texas?
Yeah, so we saw investor activity in the single-family home market rose to really unprecedented highs in the pandemic, or right after the pandemic. So they were like maybe a third, you know, and in North Texas, maybe 40% of single-family home purchases were investor purchases for a while there. It's considerably less now. So, you know, maybe it's back to a quarter, or maybe it's down to 20%. But I mean, obviously, you know, demand for homes, you know, drives up the price. And so luckily for us in Texas, I mean, you know, home builders and the regulatory environment, I mean, we're pretty, you know, the environment is definitely conducive to building more homes. So we have more demand, we have more supply. But what we did see during the pandemic, that we reached levels of such low levels of affordability that we've never had before in North Texas and in Austin. So we've actually, our median our medium single-family home price is actually above the national average now, and in Austin, it's far above the national average. So it's gotten expensive and less affordable, as you know, as a result of the demand.
Any other questions? Well, Pia, thank you so much for speaking. And in honor of your speaking, a book will be placed at McShane Elementary after your speaking today. Thank you very much. Okay, next week, guys, Mark Melton will be speaking to the Dallas Eviction Advocate Center and how they help in that process. Mark Cash will be our chair of the day. And now Mark NEACE will be doing our four-way test.
Thank you, President Jeff. I know we're running a little bit late, but I think it's important to remember why we recite the four-way test. So it was and for new people who are not Rotarians or visiting or new Rotarians, the four-way test was developed in 1932 by Rotarian Herbert J. Taylor, and he actually wrote the four-way test because he was taking over a failing company. And so he came in and he wrote the four-way test as a code of ethics for all of his employees. He was later president of Rotary International, and in 1945 it was adopted by Rotary as the Rotary four-way test. So I just think it's important to kind of remember the history of it and why it was written as a code for business ethics, and that's really why we're here along with service. Yes? That's awesome. That's a great connection. Right. So I'm sorry, I was trying to get something else on the screen, so I don't have it up on the screen, but we should all know it by heart anyway, right? So please join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?